Okay, things are escalating quickly. Before I dive in, I want to say proceeds from these videos go towards hurricane relief, supporting hurricane relief efforts. If you guys want to like this video, it really helps out, and we can make a difference together. Things are speeding up. We're only a couple days away from a potential major hurricane making landfall. I have a lot of stuff that I want to go over to make you guys feel like you can face this storm fearlessly. Something we're not really going to talk about is location for landfall. Why? Because we have this curve on the track. This curve on the track is going to be huge. I'm not going to predict where this thing makes landfall. Anywhere within this cone. This cone is where the potential eye wall of the storm could go. So if the eye wall ticks west, we are going to see statewide damage. If it moves east, Panhandle, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, South Carolina are going to get a lot of damage from the storm. We'll get into that a little bit more in a second. For now, I'm Jack Tinney of the Juke Squad. I was born and raised Floridian. I've lived through every single hurricane since birth. I'm a weather enthusiast. I'm not allowed to call myself a weather expert as advised by my lawyers. If you want a weather expert, go to the National Hurricane Center. The link is in the description. You can expect daily updates from me at this point. I'm sure tomorrow or Wednesday, I'll probably end up doing a morning and an afternoon update. This storm is ramping up. I will not be able to take my eyes off it, so we might as well have a conversation together and see what we can learn from looking over the models and looking up what's happened in the past. Okay, so I woke up and everything changed again. Everything ticked up more than a notch or even two. We went from the intensity model showing potential category 2 to now dipping into category 4 bracket. More than half of the models are showing this thing becoming a major hurricane. And when that starts happening, we have to pay attention. I can almost guarantee you at this point, a large portion of Florida goes under state of emergency. I think by the end of today, I wrote earlier that I thought that this thing would go tropical by the end of the day. As I sat down 10 minutes before shooting this video, the National Hurricane Center did an 11 o'clock update and have let us know that this is now a tropical depression. And they're calling for a tropical storm by 8 a.m. tomorrow. Whoo, gotta take a deep breath. Yesterday, I made a video going over all the storms that have made landfall in the Gulf as major hurricanes over the last 7 years, and it was a pretty unsettling exploration. I'll pull up a couple more of those in a second to show you what I'm talking about, unless you just want to go back and learn about all the past hurricanes. Most models now on Monday are predicting this thing to turn into a major hurricane. I was hoping that this thing wouldn't organize till late Tuesday, Wednesday, but we're starting to see more of a center of circulation now. We're starting to see a lot of convection. Lots of big storms are starting to blow up. As you can see right here, I think that this time tomorrow we see a much more organized system. And I've said it a million times. If this storm hits north of you and you are anywhere near the eye wall within even 100 miles, prepare for the worst and prepare to evacuate. We all should know by now that hurricanes spin counterclockwise due to us being north on the equator of this rotating planet. Did you guys know that hurricanes cannot and will not ever cross the equator? That's because storms north of the equator move clockwise, spin clockwise, and south they spin counterclockwise because the Earth is rotating and it affects storms. It's pretty neat if you ask me. Most of the devastation from these storms is from flooding as well. Rarely wind is what we worry about. It's usually the flooding. Something I've heard a million times is you hide from the wind and you run from the water. If you are in high flood zones, don't be there. We don't have warnings or evacuation orders yet, but I can almost guarantee you that they are coming. All right, let's talk about tracks. This little wobble is going to be everything. This little whoop whoop, little S-turn that we're doing. Storm hasn't exactly organized, but it is organizing. Once we have a defined center and we deal with this little wobble, we will all know a lot more. These storms like to shift and they like to dance and they like to wobble. The hurricane wobble is something that we see time and time again, and it's something that it seems like we're going to see for this storm. National Hurricane Center now identifying this as a potential tropical cyclone. Helene, Hurricane Helene might be coming. Wind speed probabilities. I guess I should probably go back to the warnings and wind. The warnings and cone. We're running out of time. 8 p.m. Tuesday. 8 p.m. Wednesday. We are a hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico 2 days out. 3 days from now. 8 a.m. on Thursday. They are predicting us to have a hurricane sitting off the coast of Florida. Straight west of Tampa Bay. I had a guy comment on one of my videos yesterday saying, it seems like you're reading off of a script. It makes it less genuine. I write scripts for all of my updates. That way I can be clear and concise. I can condense everything. I can make sure that I hit all the points that I want to make. I'm not reading off of a script the entire time, but I'm certainly looking to my script and looking to my notes to make sure that everything that I find important about this storm, I cover. I sit down for at least an hour in the morning and collect as much data and as much information as possible so that I can condense it and give it to you guys in a very condensed manner. I think that that's something that you should appreciate and not be annoyed by, because I could just sit here and ramble for an hour and go over all the stuff that I want to go over. I think a condensed version is better. Okay, so like I said, no flood maps, no wind history, no warning cones or anything like that. No state of emergency, etc., etc., etc. Let's jump into the GFS. I'm going to go over these in no particular order because we're just going to look at everything. The GFS is not happy. It is saying Category 3, Category 4 storm, barely brushing past Tampa Bay. This is nearly a worst case scenario for Tampa Bay if this plays out. No, I'm going to repeat myself again. We will really not know anything until we understand how this wobble is going to play out. If this thing pulls north an extra 50 miles, it's going to change everything. If it speeds up a little bit, it'll change everything. If it moves into the Gulf and it stalls, it'll change everything. A 20-mile shift of the eye wall is a complete game changer. So we are completely in the unknown right now. I cannot stress that enough. We will not really know until 8 a.m. on Wednesday, if you're asking for my opinion. It's not time to freak out until it's time to freak out. Right now, we still have plenty of time. 72 hours, 3 days. You can buy plenty of toilet paper. You're going to be fine. We're here together. We got this. All right, look. Boom. Bit of spin. I don't know about you guys. I'm seeing the spin starting to happen in here. Lots of storms blowing out. It's kind of widening. It's deepening. It's looking like over the next 24 hours, we might actually start to see something that looks like a storm. You can see these way outer bands spinning this way. You can see all this moisture getting pushed in from the Pacific. We're going to go to tropical tidbits where all of the models are starting to agree. 24 hours out, 48 hours out, 72 hours from now, we have a fat, large storm sitting off the Gulf Coast of Florida. All the models are beginning to agree. There's some very scary ones. Highly populated area, Tampa Bay, Pinellas County. Well, Pinellas County is actually one of the most densely populated counties in the entire world. That's not a joke. Intensity guide. This is something I really wanted to show you. Lots of models jumping up into the Category 2, Category 3, and even a couple going into the Category 4. 12 hours, 24, 36, 48, 72 hours. Looks like this thing's going to peak about 72 hours from now, from the time that I uploaded this video. Go look at what time I uploaded it. Then you can make a prediction. Also, go check out the National Hurricane Center. They're going to be posting multiple updates a day, the biggest updates being at 5 p.m. I'm not sure if they're going to fly the Hurricane Hunter into this thing today. I'm guessing they'll probably do it tomorrow, definitely in the coming days. The models are all starting to agree. Here we see the Euro. A lot less scary than the other ones. I'm going to refresh it just in case we've missed something or something has changed. Something has changed. Euro, a lot less scary. Still very close to Florida. The Euro was pushing way more west a couple days ago. Now it's showing this thing hunkering up, getting nice and close to our buddy Florida there. The CMC runtime, it's really all that we're looking at here is that the models are all starting to agree that this thing is going to push into the Eastern Gulf and give Florida a run for its money. The icon, we'll look at this one more really quick. That's not fun. I mean, the pressure's not scary. 976 millibars. I think that it's going to drop much lower than that. I've been spending hours and hours and hours and hours digging into this thing, looking into historical data, looking into previous storms. I have a couple here that I really wanted to show you guys. This is the list that we do not want to join, but look at where the storms come from. All of them. Look where they come from. South of the Caribbean, besides Irma, south of Cuba, move over the Yucatan into the warm, open Gulf. The worst of which that made landfall was Hurricane Michael. Hurricane Michael has the most similar track. That's not Michael, that's Idalia. Hurricane Michael has a fairly, almost spooky, almost haunting how similar this track looks to what we're looking at right now. Can we get a side by side? Can we do that? Cuba, Cuba. Passing through the gap. passing through the gap. If this thing shifts north, it's going to go exactly where Michael went with virtually the exact same track. I mean, the entire track of Michael is inside the cone of the track of this tropical depression. Tropical wave. It's a cyclone. Tropical, what is it? Potential tropical cyclone. Woo! Okay, we're going to go to weathernerds.com where all their models are agreeing on the exact same thing as all the other ones. This is another Weather Nerds model run showing the millibar drop to 926 on that model run. What model is this? This is the H-Wharf. 926 millibars. That is a Category 4 hurricane, I believe. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure, though. 931 millibars on the H-Mon. Catastrophic scenario playing out on another model run. I'm not going to reiterate this enough times. You guys are going to get sick of me. 930. That is wild. 925. The HAFS. This is the A run. 925. Smacking the Big Bend. Catastrophic flooding. Major winds. 905 on the B run of the HAFS. Wow. Obviously, it's unlikely that that's going to play out, but if that plays out, we have one of the strongest hurricanes in the history of mankind. That's why I make hurricane videos about the Gulf. That's why I hold off for as long as I do when making hurricane videos. If I'm making a hurricane video, the storm is worth looking at. I'm not going to talk about every single storm that pushes through just because I want to get views and I want to get clicks. I know some people really like watching those videos, but I also don't just want to talk about something that I don't think is actually going to matter. It's like, am I here for entertainment value, or am I here to educate you guys so that you can feel safer and that we can all make a calculated decision on what the next move is according to where we are in the path of this storm. I know that a lot of my information is redundant and I reiterate a lot, but I think it's important to really make sure that this stuff sinks in. All the most important details of this are accounted for. I think the biggest thing to take away from this is what this wobble does. We really have to watch this wobble. We haven't gone on windy yet. We might as well check that out. We'll go to Mike's weather page and check out some of the other models he posted on his website just to close this out, to give you guys a little bit more info. But it's a scary situation. It's a scary situation for anyone between Louisiana and Key West. Like I said, if this thing pushes north and it doesn't wobble as much as everybody's expecting it to, it could go anywhere. There's still a lot of uncertainty right here. I'm going to go back to the National Hurricane Center so that we can look at the most official cone that exists, which is the National Hurricane Center. We're not going to worry about that storm. You know why? Because it's far away. I think it's just going to go up into the Atlantic. Not really going to have to worry about it that much. I don't think that the steering currents are going to allow it to move into the Caribbean or into the Gulf Coast. Seen other weathermen saying, we have another one coming towards Florida. I don't think so. I don't. That is how far out I watch. I'm always watching everything super far out, weeks before I make videos. It's just, there reaches a time and a criteria in my mind where I feel it's important for me to even make one, or if I'm just being ridiculous, like trying to predict a blob out in the middle of the ocean that no one has any idea what it's going to do. Debbie, remember Hurricane Debbie? Debbie was supposed to go up the East Coast. I was like, I don't know. I think that thing looks like it's going to go into the Gulf, and it did, and it strengthened, and it was a very gnarly storm. Cones were pushing it up the East Coast. People in Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, all up and down the East Coast of Florida were worried about it. I was like, it doesn't really look like it's going to go there. So when I think it's important, I kind of go off my instincts. I go off of everything I've learned. I go off of what we've seen in the past. And the most important thing, again, is going to be what happens with this little wobble that we see. If it moves north, if it moves east, if it moves west, everything changes. It could change for the better. It could change for the worst. If it gets ripped up over the mountains of Cuba, it might cool off a little bit. But it looks like it's going for the path of least resistance. That's what hurricanes like. They like the path of least resistance. They like shooting through that Yucatan Gap and entering the super warm Gulf Coast. The water's hot. We got a big loop current in the Gulf that's going to feed this hurricane 85 degrees. That's warm enough to make a strong hurricane. I don't really have much else today besides things are heating up. And if you're not looking at the storm and you live in Florida, you need to be. Send this video to somebody that you think needs to be informed. We'll stay informed together. I appreciate everybody sharing. I appreciate all the likes. I appreciate all the comments. I appreciate all you guys that don't watch my videos unless it's hurricane season. During hurricane season, this is kind of what takes my focus as a born and raised surfer, as a born and raised Floridian, as somebody who's in the path of these storms. It's hard for me to really focus on anything else other than hurricanes when the time comes. I appreciate you guys being here again. I will be posting more updates on my Instagram tonight. I'll probably do a 5 o'clock update on my Instagram if you want to go follow me. And you can expect another video probably sometime first thing tomorrow morning, because I think I'm going to wake up pretty early just off of nerves alone. Hop on the computer, do some research, get as much information back to you guys as I can. Wow, my lights are bright. And that's all, folks. I'll see you tomorrow for another update. Peace.